Israel there in the red shirt met us at the airport. He was our driver. He's from Guatemala. And Pablo there in the white is Living Waters coordinator in Guatemala and was our translator. This is me in Israel at the end of the week. He's a good friend of mine now. Yeah, they took us to Polo Campero, which is a very nice fast food chicken place. Here's a screenshot of the school, basically where we were working. Uh, Kids meet in the school in about 9 different classrooms, and the water building sits out in front of the school. The school's owned, or the water building's owned by the town, and it's got a different key than the school. So its operators will provide water for the school, but also for the community. The water situation at the school, they have a well, and there used to be a pump to get the water out of the well. The pump was broken. They were using the water to wash their hands over at the bathroom, and they would actually fill it up in jugs and carry it over there to flush the toilets. We even saw them drinking out of it. They would use it for cooking. So it was really important that we get this system working. Uh, Another emphasis of Living Waters is participation for the operators. So it's not about us American teams going down there and building things. It's about us teaching and encouraging these people, giving them the skills to provide their own clean water. So here's Eddie and Diego and Jaime all putting the system together, and Dan from our team helping them. And we find we didn't really supply them with a lot of skills. We just kind of gave them this tool and a machine to make clean water that they didn't have before. And they may not have the resources to get that, but they definitely have the brain power, the skills, the willingness to make it happen. And we're just there to help them along in the way. And it's really interesting and cool to think about it as we in the U.S. see there's a water problem in the world, and we want to reach out and solve that water problem. But here's how we're going to do it. We're going to teach Eddie and Francisco and Diego and Amy how to run this system, and we're going to teach Carolina and Sandy and the other teachers how to teach kids about clean hand washing, and that's how we're going to fight waterborne diseases in El Xab in Guatemala. And when I look at it that way, I see it as this amazing partnership that is really special because it's us meeting a need through leaders in a community where there's a problem. And we're supporting leaders in a community. And that's my understanding of living waters for the world. And note that it's plural, living waters. It's both providing the water system and providing this curriculum about water education. So as Dan and I were working to teach operators how to run the system, Joan and Connie were teaching the teachers some curriculum and games, anything from like they're doing in that video of getting fluorescent dye on their hands to then wash it and then look at their hands under a black light and see how well they washed it, to acting out Bible stories where there's water, reading through the creation story. They did a dramatization during the closing service of acting out Moses parting the Red Sea and understanding the connection between our faith and water in our lives, and really just making water a bigger part of the conversation than just having this machine in that room beside the school. They're engaging with it, and they're using that to teach about hygiene, waterborne diseases, germ theory, all sorts of stuff, and also Bible stories. It's an incredible curriculum. One of my favorite parts of the trip was during the time in El Shab when they would cook lunch for us. We had some delicious local mangoes that a farmer brought by, fresh off the tree, and a couple times Marta and Mirna, which were Eddie's sister and Eddie's mother, would cook food for us with money from the community that they'd all pulled together to feed us while we were there helping them with the system. Myrna was in the left in that picture with the food. The thing I remember most about her was one day we were carrying a heavy sink, a 3-basin sink that we called the pila, and it's really heavy. It took about 5 of us to move it, and we'd all pick it up and shuffle a few steps. And as we were doing that, I twisted my ankle, and it's a problem. I've twisted my ankle before, so it really hurt terribly. And I could not explain to the guys in Spanish what I'd just done, and they were kind of laughing at me. And I was just thinking, all right, let's get this sink put down, and then I need to take a break because this hurts a lot. And as we had gotten up the step and going around the corner, we had to get it in the water room. I heard from behind me, she calls, Alex. And I turned around, and Myrna is standing there just smiling at me with, she's holding a baby and an umbrella in one hand. In her other hand, she's reaching out with this ice cold glass of frozen strawberry drink she'd made for us. And I just gave up on the guys at the sink and went over and started talking to Myrna and drinking this refreshing juice. And with all that pain in my ankle, that was the best thing that could happen. And I really enjoyed that moment, and that just kind of spoke to the support we had from people in the community, that they band together and they cook for us, they give us drinks, they'd be there to help us. They were in this for themselves, and they could have done it without us. But I'm lucky enough that I got to go help them to achieve this goal of getting clean water. These video clips with all the kids are from the closing ceremony. Like, they all got dressed up, and we did this presentation where we gave certificates and some Living Waters t-shirts to the people that really helped. Our operators, we gave them the owner's manuals. We let the teachers and the kids act out some things they learned with the curriculum. We let them drink the water from the water system for the first time. Francisco even bought fireworks, and they sent some of those out. It was a neat thing, and these are some other video clips of Diego in the white shirt and Jaime in the green shirt there, just operating the system, rinsing bottles and whatnot. It was really cool for me to see that day how quickly they had picked it up, and just to step back and watch them with all they learned. I had a little bit of a struggle with the language barrier. I'd only learned Spanish since January, and Diego knew a little bit of English from a couple years working in the United States, and they picked it up really quickly. Our translator Pablo and our driver Israel were in a meeting. We ran into some small town politics, and they had to help with some peacekeeping. Some people got upset because one individual wanted to have a little more ownership in the water system than he was given, and he got a little angry. He was running for political office this year, and some people, I think, didn't trust him, and he didn't like that. So there was some conflict, and we really were intentional about trying not to mess things up more than were necessary. So Max sat down with some leaders in the community, and this guy and Israel and Pablo, to just really talk it out. And all that just to say that our translators were in an important meeting, and I was doing this by myself. And I really saw how smart these guys were, that the language barrier was kind of a problem, but they know exactly what they're doing with that water system, and I'm very confident about it. I was a little stressed because I don't know so much Spanish, but it worked out beautifully. And these guys are more fit to run that system than I am. One final note I want to close on about that little bit of politics we found in Guatemala, how much it reminded me of being at home, where I've seen a lot of people in Appalachia, Virginia, even here in Arkansas, and pretty much in any small town in the U.S., you will see one person trying to take control of a community event and running with it, and then not everybody being okay with it, and then some falling out, some family crisis going on. And that kind of tension where we were struggling to say, hey, what do we do here? We kind of messed things up. I was just telling everybody, this is just like at home in Virginia, people. And people in Guatemala really aren't that much different than us. And so I think that applies to a lot of these bigger things that are going on in the country now with racism and bigotry and the way we treat Latinos. And I want everybody to hear that part of the story so that they know people aren't that much different. When you think about it, we all have the same tendencies to be gross and sinful and nasty and mean to one another. We're all equally as sinful, but we're all equally as loved by God. And we need to remember that. We need to remember that when we do mission work. We need to remember that when there's crisis going on in our country. And that's the one there's so many lessons from this story, but I wanted to share that one. Thanks for watching this video.
Yeah, we're done. We have everything. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Adios.
Bye-bye. Adrian, you come to Washington, call me.